Saludos y bienvenidos, everybody, to the PGP podcast. We have some technical difficulties going on, but it doesn't matter. We're going to push through this because you know what? We're in education, and we always know how to pivot for success. Hey, everybody, Josh Tovar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, ISD. Garland, USA, ready to rock and roll with my co-host. I lost her. She's somewhere out there. I have no idea. Hopefully, she comes back on right now. Welcome to awesome Sunday right now. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you giving up some of your time for joining us in this conversation. Dr. Seuss in the Schoolhouse, episode number 6. Educators that have written books that will help you by the poolside this summer. But don't forget that we are part of the Fantastic Four Network, with every Facebook Live, every Saturday, Super Saturday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time with Sean Hurt. Hey, Sean Hurt, if you're listening to this, I think Mr. and Mrs. Potato Plant caught up to me for making fun of them because we're having technical difficulties just like you did this past Saturday. 10 o'clock, if you need some help with your data out there, call Coach Sean Hurt. Culture ladies, doctors, raise their schools to 3-letter grades in 1 year. Dr. Shika Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30 Eastern, and Jefe, 11 o'clock, who's like riding high with them New York Knickerbockers. He's nonstop success, sporting his colors for New York. So check him out at 11 o'clock. And he has a brand new thing. Check him out. Send him an email on his Facebook assistant principal's page if you want to be part of the new format that he has starting in September. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Jefe's show this past Saturday. He will give you the details. Remember that we're part of this Fantastic Four family, and we'd like you to please right now, like and share the show. Please like and share the show. If not, go to the YouTube also. Please press it, send it out there. Let that algorithm flow. Hey, thank you very much. We got 250. We started off with 231 a couple of weeks ago. We're at 250 fans. Thank you very much. It just helps all of this knowledge that we're presenting to you to the whole global sphere, because you know YouTube connects everybody. So thank you very much for sending these educators' voice, their ideas, and their experiences out to everybody else. The more this platform grows, the more that their information goes out into what we call the www. Yes, I'm showing my age by saying www. So if you'd like to be part of this show, please reach out to me, to Mari, who right now, she's suffering, guys. So please feel bad for her right now because she's suffering. She's in Hawaii. So I don't know how much of that pain that is, but send her some positive vibes before she takes off to Tanzania in Africa. And I finally, well, what happened to you, young lady? Where did you go?
Josh, it just kicked me out. We said we're going live, and it said bye-bye.
Hey, you know who I blame? Mr. and Mrs. Potato Plant. They've been attacking Sean Hurt. They started attacking us today. I have an awesome co-host today from Oklahoma. Kenya Sessions, tell the audience who you are.
Oh my goodness. Well, late to the party, but Kenya Session here, the very, very proud principal of Midwest City Middle School in Midwest City, Oklahoma, part of Middale Public Schools. I'm principal on a roll. I have an amazing staff, always representing in the most beautiful scholars, and truly happy to be a part of the Fantastic Four. And here tonight with Principal Josh Tovar, ready to go.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate that. Thank you for giving everybody the receipts, dropping them right there. And appreciate you doing, because you know what? We have a little group going on over here in the DFW area, and she's growing her PLN that she drove. She drove 3 hours to come and break bread with a group of educators in the DFW. That's what Principal Cafela talks about doing that extra thing. Because you know how Principal Cafela always talks about his plane breaking down? So what does he do? He gets a car and he'll drive 3 hours, 8 hours. He'll sleep for 30 minutes and then he'll go present. You know what? If you want something, you're going to get it. And if you know what, thank you very much, Kenya. You're showing that role model that Principal Cafela does for us. And you drove 3 hours and we know that the food was good.
Absolutely. So good. Thank you.
Awesome. So right now we're going to get started with our Chinchilagua moment. Chinchilagua, Kenya's like, I think I've heard that before, but what is that, Josh? Chinchilagua is a Mexican game that we play during festive times, and it becomes a human pyramid. Can yell. You yell. There's a line that you yell. You say Chinchilagua y arriba boy, and you create a human pyramid. Your uncle is hanging up on the wall, and you jump on top of him. Then your grandma jumps on top of them. Then your little kindergarten. It becomes a human pyramid. It's all fun and games.
Yeah.
It all comes crashing down. Well, my thought today, as we know that the majority of the schools are finishing. East Coast still live a couple of more weeks. East Coast still live, but we're done. We're done here in the South right now. I just like to put out three things for you all. The three R's: rest, recharge, and reflect. You have to do that, but it can't be only a summer thing, guys. You cannot only rest, recharge, and reflect. You got to do it throughout the school year also. You have to make sure you appropriate that time for you and your family. Family first, health first. Because right now, if you try to do it in the summer, how does everyone come back, Kenyel? Everyone comes back after summer, hey, and then you greet everybody the first week of PD, and then Josh shows up. Damn it, Josh is back on my roster. Oh my God. And then all that joy, all those Mai Tais that you had, all those adult beverages, they all forget it because Josh is back on your rosters. Well, ultimately, make sure that you rest, relax, and recharge, but not only during summer, but do it all year long. Find those things that bring you peace, that bring you solace, but most importantly, spending that time for you, my friend, to kiss your family, to break bread with your family, to pray before your meal with your family, to bring that bond. Because you know what? I love my profession. It's a calling. I know it. But in the end, it's a job. Your family will always be there for you. And as I always say, find loyalty to yourself because you know what? You know this, Kenyel. You've been around for 2 decades. Once you and I are gone from that school, there's going to be someone right behind us.
That's right.
There's going to be someone right behind us because the school was there before us and it'll be there after us. And you know what? Not our health, not our families. And a lot of times, you and I sitting in our chairs, we forsake family events. We forsake our health. Lunch. We don't need lunch till like around 3 minutes before bus dismissal.
Right.
It's those things that we need to take care of ourselves, but it cannot be a summer thing. It can't be a Christmas break thing. It has to be a all year long thing. What are your thoughts, Kenya?
Oh my gosh, Josh, you are so right. It has to be a place and space in the summertime where you just establish those good habits, the good ways to take care of yourself, and then let those habits lead you into the school year. If you start now, summer's it's a break, and it's a good time to be intentional with intentionality about taking care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. And then not, like you said, forsaking those things, not taking advantage of, okay, well, I know I'm back at work and I've got to take care of everybody else. Because as the saying always goes, we cannot pour from an empty cup, but you also shouldn't just pour from a full cup either. You should overflow your cup. You should be overflowing so that as you are pouring into others, that you're not depleting yourself day in and day out. So that rest and recharge and reflection time, it is absolutely paramount to the work that we do as educators. So that's really good.
Love it. Thank you. Those are great thoughts. I agree. Overflow that cup of love, that cornucopia. I love it right there. And we're about to bring in guests. And part of that right now is you're by the poolside at the beach. Because we're seeing all those pictures already, right? Of people on their vacations in the Utah mountains or whatever it might be. Check out the other episodes with Dr. Seuss in the Schoolhouse, episode 14, 78, 91, 99, and 107. All of these authors, all of the educators have been here showing their experiences via the printed word. And without further ado, we have these awesome, great educators right now coming on the call, making sure that they share their experiences, their smiles, their love with the whole audience. Panel, thank you. Muchas gracias por estar aquí hoy en su show, en su lugar. Kenyo Sessions, stick. You got it.
Hey, well, welcome up, everybody. Welcome up. I'm so glad. Listen, we're going to get through it. All the technical difficulties and everything. We've got it. We're so excited to have you all here and just get us going and getting us inspired about your books and what you've written and your journey as an educator and as an author. So, guys, we're going to jump right into this and get us going tonight. So, each of you, I'm going to ask each of you, and we'll go in the order on the screen. We've got Michael, and then Shauna, and then Chris. If each of you will take time and answer this question, give the audience a brief background of your different roles that you've served in while in education. Talk with us about which role was your favorite and why. And so, Michael, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, my name is Dr. Michael Bishop. I'm a retired high school principal from Bristow, Virginia. I've had the pleasure of opening 3 high schools, one as a coach, one as an assistant principal, and one as a principal. I'm probably the only principal maybe in the whole country that got kicked out of college as an undergrad because I didn't know what I was doing. And I had to get my stuff together. And if it wasn't for someone taking me by the side and taking me by the hand saying, look, this is not right. You need to get together. And it was a family member. Put me back on path, and I ended up graduating and moving to Virginia, where I served as a social studies teacher, football, basketball, baseball coach, and someone saw potential in me and said, you should go into administration. And I became an assistant principal in 2006, and I became a principal in 2008 at a place called Lee Davis High School, which now is called Mechanicsville High School. And then because I'd opened 3 schools, and that's what my dissertation was about, became the principal at Patriot High School and served there from 2010 until 2025.
Wow. Wow. And Dr. Bishop, which one of those was your favorite and why?
I think Patriot was my favorite because I got to build from the ground up. There was literally 2 employees, myself and the bookkeeper, when we started. And so I had to be very intentional with what I wanted the staff to look like, how I wanted people when they walked in the front office to feel, what I wanted the exterior of the building to represent, the mascot. We were the Patriot Pioneers. And I chose that mascot purposefully because we were the first with whiteboards in every room. We were the first with building trades, first with Project Lead the Way, first with culinary. And so the word pioneer just kind of fit. But I didn't want the, Daniel Boone stocking cap guy with the flag in his hand. And so we actually went with a logo that was kind of futuristic. So I really was proud to work with those people. I miss the people. I don't miss the 5 a.m. phone call from my boss.
Wow. And that is so special. And what a look at me now kind of moment that you have when you say, you know what, I was kicked out of college, but inspired by that family member to keep going. And you have a look at me now kind of moment and look what you can do. That is so inspirational.
And that was the kind of conversation I would have with my kids that were struggling. That last month of the school year when they find out, I might not graduate, I might not make it. And I would pull them aside or ask them to come to my office and say, okay, listen, here's what I had to go through. Did you know your principal got kicked out of college because he was not a very good student? And then I said to them, you can overcome this. You can do this. You can do this. I need you to get a C on this last chemistry test. And I know you'll pass for the year. I've done the math. And then I went to the teacher and I said, he's going to get a tutor. What does he need to know? Or what does she need to know? And we could make sure every one of them graduated. One year we had a 100% graduation rate. So just putting them in the right spot, because somebody put me in the right spot. I learned from that conversation, you can do it. You can make it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. All right, Shauna.
Hi, thank you for having me on here. Okay, so my educational background, I moved to Las Vegas from Arizona the week before school started. So I got a job the Thursday before school started. That was my first teaching job ever. So I had a lot to do, and I was a 4th grade teacher. Out here in Vegas, they kind of restructure once they see how many kids are at each school. So a month in, unbeknownst to me, I got surplused, which I had no idea what that was about, but I got surplus. So I got sent to a new school that had just opened, and they needed more teachers because the school I was at was overstaffed. So I got to help open that school, but I came a month later, and I taught there 11 years, 4th grade. And then after that, I did 2nd grade for a couple of years because I knew that I was going to go into administration. So I kind of wanted to see the primary side of things, and kind of set myself up there. And then after that, I became the math strategist. So math is my passion. And so I had that opportunity to work with 3 groups of students in grades 3, 4, 5. They were considered our bubble kids. And my job was to get them to pass the state test. So I did that half the day, and the other half of the day, I kind of did some leadership roles. So I got the best of both worlds, and that was really interesting and fun. And then I got the opportunity to come where I'm at now. So this school, Tyrone Thompson, opened in 2020. So we opened online as a brand new school. The staff had never met each other. The families didn't know us. And it was all online. So that was a learning curve because, we were all learning the technology side of it too. And then to have to build those relationships through a screen, that was a challenge. But we did it. And a couple years into that, I had an opportunity to go be an assistant principal somewhere else. But my boss, Robert, was like, no, I want to keep you here. And that was like a dream because it's close to home. I wouldn't have to travel far, for my kids after school and stuff like that. And so I've been here as the AP for 4 years. And the second part of that question, which part's my favorite? I try to find joy in everything that I do. So I loved all of them. They all provided something to me to help me grow as an educator. But where I'm at right now, I would have to say is my absolute favorite, just because I'm able to impact on a larger scale and build more relationships with more people instead of just like inside my classroom. So, yep, that's where I'm at.
Wow, that is a beautiful journey. And you like sewed it up kind of in the end when you said you like to find the joy in everything you do. And that ties back to the beginning of your story when you started speaking, just the flexibility that you had, and you were asked to go here and you starting less than a week before school. And I'm sure you still had that beautiful smile on your face.
I don't know if it was this big, but I mean, that was pretty challenging. And I think that's where I had to find my joy to survive. So I was like, I have to do something, otherwise I'm going to crumble. And this basically, I had to choose my attitude and everything. And that's kind of just carried me through my career.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a wonderful strategy. Finding the joy, keeping the good attitude. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And that brings us to Chris, Coach Chris.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey.
My story is a little bit different. I didn't grow up with education being a real serious topic in our household. To be honest with you, to be truthful, I didn't start looking at education until I was like 14 years old, and that's because of great movies on Showtime and Cinemax piqued my interest. I started playing football, realized I could get a college scholarship. I was able to get a college scholarship. I became the first person in my family to graduate from college, so I'm very proud of that. My sister came behind me and she outdid me and got a master's. So I always tell her I led the way for her success. But in the teaching profession, I didn't pretty much taught 8 to 9 different subjects, from government to economics to sociology, psychology, so forth and so on. My favorite position I'm in right now is 5400 Sun Valley Andrews High School, the best high school in the city of El Paso, Texas, is the alternative teacher. And the reason I like that position so much is because I deal with a lot of at-risk kids. Every kid in my junior high was at risk. I was at risk. So I feel like I connect with them on such a high level. And I get so much joy when a kid comes to alternative. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't play no games, but I respect them. I love on them. But, we take care of our business. We don't talk. And it always trips me out that once they get out, they come back and they say hi to me. And that's when I realized that I had a connection. But once again, my favorite position in teaching is the alternative teacher.
Yeah. Oh man, that is awesome. And it sounds like you were built for that. Your story, your journey in education, and being a first-gen college student, big ups, congratulations on that. And then to your sister as well. And so I can see why being in the alternative setting fits you. It fits your story, it fits your lifestyle, and you absolutely most likely have so much to give your scholars. So good deal. Well, thank you all.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I tell them all the time that they, we can function together. We can function together because nothing they didn't think about doing or didn't do that I hadn't came across my plate too. So
that is so good. It's good. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing.
And when a kid knows you believe in him or her, it totally makes a change. It totally makes a change in their life, because I've had kids come back to me after they've left school hey, Doc, guess what I'm doing now? Or, hey, Coach Bishop, I saw one of my former kids today. He's 45 years old. I went to watch his son play in a basketball tournament. And so you still have those connections. And I think that's really what people miss about education is that you make a connection with a kid, you can change their life. You honestly can.
Yeah.
Facts. Hey, Chris, log off and log back in. I lost you, brother. Log off and log back in, okay? All right, but before we get into the next question right now, big shout out to our number one cheerleader, our coach for the Fantastic Four, Doc McKeever Jeter. Thank you for being here right now. Dr. Melissa Jones Chunu out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, who also did a great job driving down and breaking bread with the Redwood PLN right there. Dr. Mari Moreno, who's showing off that she's in the Hawaiian airport. Whatever, Mari. I'm glad you enjoyed it, young lady. Todd Feldman, haven't seen your name. Where are you from, Todd? Let us know. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing some of your time with us. And out of Ghana, one of our former guests. This is an international show, like always. Da Costa Ajito. How you doing, brother? How was your school year? I know that you guys are done right now. Let us know, please. Thank you. So let's get started right now with Shauna. A simple question for you. Very simple right now. What specifically or who made you or believe in becoming an educator? And part two, how important were your parents on this journey that you are in your chair right now? So who or what pointed this pathway for you, and how were your parents involved into the point that you have right now?
That's a great question. I think there's no specific person. I think it was just great teachers that I had along the way and great administrators that like I still contact my principal from when I was in elementary school and talk to him and get ideas from him because he was great and he was crazy and I just remember him so much. And so I think all those things along the way, I always wanted to be a teacher. And so I helped my friends with their homework, and I'm 8 and 10 years older than my brothers. So I always helped them with their homework too. And it was just who I was. And when I went to college, and this is where my parents come, they always had high expectations for me. And being the only child for 8 years, like they were, micromanaging me kind of. So my schoolwork had to be, at the top. And so I understood that the expectation was for me to go be like a doctor or something like that. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that like I had a passion for teaching. And so after my first year of college, in those medical classes, I was like, nope, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. It's not bringing me that joy again. And so I switched majors and never looked back.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, some of our parents are on us. They say, hey, we're not going that way. We're going this way, baby. All right. We're going that way. Perfect for sharing that. Hey, Todd, thank you. The Big Apple. What do you do over there, Todd? Let us know. I think I've seen your name every once in a while, but let us know what you do there in the Big Apple. Thank you for being here on the show tonight. My needs to change my trajectory. Let's see. What is Moreno showing off? What are you showing off, Moreno? Oh, she's telling her story right there. Ah, that's right. Mari Moreno, who will be telling her story when she is part of the podcast as an author, because she's working on her own book right now. Michael, talk to us, my man. Talk to us, brother. Who or what motivated you, and how important were your parents?
Okay, so I'm the oldest of 5. My parents got divorced when I was 11. My father was not a real influential part of our lives, and we moved to Ohio from Indiana. But I had 2 aunts and 2 uncles that basically stepped in and took over that role. My Aunt Madeline and my Aunt Connie, literally all the time checking in. What are you going to do? How can we help? I can remember my Aunt Connie showed up for my 16th birthday with birthday gifts for me. And it was Born to Run and The River by Bruce Springsteen. And I became hooked from that day on. And the 2 of them worked in education and really said, you need to go to college. You need to go to college. You need to go to college. Well, what am I going to do there? I have no idea. Right. And so I enrolled at Youngstown State University because they accepted everybody in our community. And I basically just plopped from class to class. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to work in entertainment or media because I have a face for radio. I didn't try to get on television. And I got to a class that I just did not do well. So I dropped out, took my 2-quarter suspension for academics, and worked at a warehouse. And then I worked cutting grass on the side of the highway and a couple of other things. And my aunt called me up one day. She said, we're going to lunch. And my Aunt Madeline calls me up and we go to lunch. And she says, all right, here's 3 job applications. She pushed them across the table at me. One was for a cabinet place, and I forget what the other 2 were. They already know you're coming. Fill them out and go. I don't want to make cabinets. Fill them out and go. All right. So I filled it out and I went to the cabinet place and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to make cabinets. And I called her up and she said, the counselor at Youngstown State is expecting your call. Your paperwork is already completed. All you have to do is go down and sign it. I was like, you mean you already knew what you wanted me to do? Yes, I knew what I already wanted you to do. And I ended up in a class with a guy named Hugh Earnhardt, with a history teacher. And he was the most engaging and exciting and storytelling guy. And I just absolutely loved it. And so I had to go back and correct a bunch of classes that I had just bombed. And I ended up graduating from college. I graduated from high school in 1985, and I graduated from college in 1993. So I had a lot of screwing around that I did there, right? But she changed the directory of what I could be. And then I had another person later, and then I had another person later. I mean, a kid that got kicked out of college has a doctorate degree in educational leadership. And that's because people believed in me and people could push me in the right direction. And I found my niche. And I moved to Virginia, kind of like Shauna was describing. I got an interview on a Thursday. They called me on a Friday. Can you start on Tuesday? Yes, I can. And I've been here ever since. So I really believe education is about influences and people who push you in the right direction. And I have lots of great stories about kids that I know that impact was. And I think that's why we do what we do. It's not about money, that's for sure.
No, so true. But you know what? Along the path, you know what? God sent you those angels and guided you in the correct path. That's always to me. There's always that little angel that He sends. He gave us a purpose. He gave us a gift, and He points us in that direction. And He blessed you with those different angels guiding you right there. A big shout out to Tim Cavey. If you do not follow Teachers on Fire, follow that guy. He has a YouTube channel. He has a ton of blogs that I've used for PD at my school. Tim Cavey, gracias, hermano. Hey, let's do that back and forth, brother. I responded to your last YouTube video. Respond back to mine right there. But thank you for being here. I appreciate you, Tim. Arcela Austri from North Carolina. Thank you very much for being here. International show, baby. The PGP podcast. Chris Wells, where you at? Are you front and center?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. But I can't see you. You're a handsome cat. I want to see your handsome features.
I can see. I see myself in the situation. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, answer the question, and then once we go into the next one, then try to fix your camera. Okay.
So like I said before, education was not a big thing in my household. So my parents didn't directly affect me, but indirectly they did. And this is how. My mother gave me great self-esteem. She told me that she wanted me to be someone and not to be a nobody. Now, I disagree with her right now because I don't think anyone's a nobody. I think people are misguided bodies, right? But she always wanted me to do better than my circumstances. So she gave me self-esteem and she made me want more, right? My dad is 15 years old. He took me outside. My dad worked 30 years in the shipyard at Bethlehem Steel. And he showed me his hands. And he said, son, you do not want these hands. Make sure you be a thinking man and use your brain so that you can be financially successful. And that's the thing that sprung my interest in getting education, is because I wanted to be able to take care of my family financially better than my parents were able to take care of myself and my siblings. And I also wanted to be able to help my mother and father when that time came. So I was motivated out of love for them to make sure that I ends meet whenever they called on me. And I was fortunate enough in my lifetime, they did call on me and I was able to answer the bell.
Thank you, brother. Yes. Hey, you know what? When Pops tells you, you don't want these hands, brother, Pops is talking to you. He's telling you the truth right there. Valerie Macy, thank you for being here today, joining us on the show, Fantastic Four Family. And Dr. Hutchinson, appreciate you for being here, proud MPA team member. And Morelliant Wade, Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Kenyo Session Stick.
Hey, listen, those were wonderful, wonderful stories. I love, love, love listening to, again, your journey, what has gotten you here to this point into today. And so just a little bit more, we'll go a little bit deeper into who you are and who you've become as authors. And so if each of you could just talk a little bit about one or two authors who you can identify with, or whose writing style did you emulate while you were writing your books? So talk with us a little bit about that. And then, hey, audience out there, all those names that Josh is calling out, share in the chat. What author is your favorite author, as well as our guests are speaking? And so, Dr. Bishop, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, there were several books that were really influential for me. The first one, I think, is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I read that about 10 or 15 years ago. And when I went to Open Patriot, I knew that's what I wanted to make sure kids understood. And so I found out the requirements to become a lighthouse school and how you work with the Covey group to get them to come into your building and put those things in place. And so throughout the year, we had what was called an advisory period. We have it every 8 days. And in that time frame, I had a teacher who was willing to go to the training, and Janine Byers is her name. And I don't know if she's watching or not, but she did a fantastic job of coordinating that for about 3 years. So every time new kids would come in, they get the full training, and then the 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade would get something different. And we did that for a long time, 7 or 8 years. And then I read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I had used the little video clip in a class I was teaching at GW. And that center circle piece, the why, the what, and the when, it connected with me. And I actually have a whole presentation, Start With Why, how it connects to education and how it connects to the instructional process and how it connects to the evaluation process and how it connects to all of that kind of stuff. And then the thing that really hit me was 212 Degrees by Sam Parker. If you've never read it, it's a quick 45-minute, and Sam Parker talks about at 211 degrees, water is hot. At 212 degrees, it powers a steam engine, one of the heaviest objects on the earth. So by you making 1 degree of change, you can impact students. And so when I wanted to present things to them, I used that as the basis. All right, we're going to start with why. Why do we want to do this? And then what are we going to do and how? And I would just lay it out that way. We're not going to try and fix 40 things, which is, I think, some central office, no offense to anybody that's watching, they want to come in and make the school improvement plan. You have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this. No, just make one change. By making one change in something, you can have an impact. And so what we did was we looked at data, our AP data. Kids were scoring in a decent range. But if you looked at the cognitive scores, they were 0 and 0.1 and 0.1, and the national average is 0.1. So that tells me they don't have any cognitive development. And so we took, in the 9th grade, they're going to do this kind of cognitive activity called Start With Why. And in the 10th grade, they're going to do this one, which is called Why Lighting. And then in the 11th grade, they're going to do 60-second debate to force them to argue or debate on a regular basis so that when they got to the assessment, oh, I took all of that from those 3 books, none of which are education books, but all of them talking about why. Why do we need to do this? Well, we need to make a change. We don't need to make 30 changes. And that's where I think sometimes we get bogged down. I included those concepts in my book, What They Don't Teach in Principal School, which is available on Amazon. And I relied so much on that I called Sinek's office and said, hey, am I going to get in trouble for using these references to this book? And the woman came back. She was like from the attorney's department. She said, no, he'll be okay with it. Don't worry about it. Because I was afraid I was going to get a copyright infringement piece. But, you know, if we're going to hire teachers, we need to tell them what we want them to do, why we want them to do it, and how or when. You know, I said to somebody one time, let's put out a real advertisement for teachers. You know, you have to be flexible, articulate, compassionate, willing to work with students. You have to show up at times you're not supposed to be there. You have to stay until times you're not supposed to be there. And you have to be able to eat a lunch in 8 minutes, make copies, and go to the restroom. That's what the job is. And I don't know that we give teachers enough credit. And when I wrote my book, I wanted to make sure if you're a new principal, hey, here's a playbook. Here's things you can do. These are the things that will help you. And I learned from my mistakes. And so I hope that helps somebody.
Yeah, Dr. Bishop, that is such a meaningful melting pot that you just gave us of all the things that go into leadership. Simon Sinek's work is absolutely foundational in leadership. So, and all of that you mentioned. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Welcome back, Coach. Miss Shauna, we'll go with you.
Hi. Okay. To be fully honest, I'm not much of a reader, but it's not because I don't like to. It's just because my style is more, and I saw somebody in the comments say, I like books that talk to you and not at you. And going through leadership and, getting my master's, there were so many theoretical books that I had to read or, kind of thumb through in order to write my papers. And it just it was not enjoyable going back to joy again. And then being here at Thompson, and some of you know, but Robert, my principal and friend, he writes books, and he just, he writes them all the time. And his purpose is to make a bigger impact. And that's why I came to the schools, because I knew that about him. And it's just something that has always inspired me. And so he got me writing books, and my voice really comes from, he was influential. So when he writes his books, he uses his own personal voice. So I can read something from his and be like, yep, this is Robert talking. And so I've kind of translated that into my books as well. I don't want them to be packed with theory, and it's just real life. It's my experiences. It's things that I've learned along the way. And again, I want to make a bigger impact, and I want to help people. So I'm trying to give them things that I've learned along the way so that they don't have to, it's such life in general and teaching as well. You learn so much as you go through. You're not prepared on that first day for everything that gets thrown at you. And even today as an administrator, it's new every day. And so if I can put some of that into a book that's easy to read and people can access that information and kind of get started on, ahead of the game, so to speak, then I'm all for it. And going back to what books were influential to me, a lot of the ones that Michael talked about, Start With Your Why, The 7 Habits, those were ones that obviously gave me something as well. But the fish philosophy, so when I was at my first school, we had initiatives that, the principal tried to bring in and for us to give to the students as well. And the fish philosophy was one of them. And one of the characteristics is choose your attitude. And again, that book was something that I was able to access real quick. There was 4 principles, and I could go to that principle that I needed and kind of refresh real quickly and then apply it into what I was doing. And so that type of book is something that I feel like people should have because it's easy for them to use.
Yeah, that is so good. You bring out such a good point about where we are in education, having things that are easy and efficient at the same time that are still going to bring some great desired outcomes. So thank you for that. Absolutely wonderful. It's so, Mr. Chris, I don't know if you were able to hear before we logged off, or you had to log off, but we're just talking about 1 or 2 authors who you identify with, or whose writing style did you emulate when writing your book?
Well, I'm gonna have to be a truth teller. I didn't emulate nobody's style. I did my own style when I wrote my book, because I feel that when I was in education, I'm in education. I think sometimes that parents and kids get confused of what the education process is about. I really believe that education starts in the cradle. It starts in the cradle. The best educators in young people's lives are their parents. And when I was researching my book, I found out the number one reason kids don't do good after the 8th grade has nothing to do with the high school principal, the high school teachers, or the high school building. It has everything to do with the foundation and how they look at education before they ever walk into those doors. So in my research in my book, I came to the conclusion if a kid has a very solid education from 1st grade to 8th grade, they can go to Harvard. So many times we get kids with deficiencies, and most of the time, education is continuously. So we don't go back and help those kids with those deficiencies, and then they start thinking that they're not smart. They start thinking that they're not intelligent. So that's 2 questions that I asked in my book. what is the definition of being smart? And when you ask a kid that, they're going to tell you everything under the moon. But in my opinion, that's in this book, Super Phenom Process of Learning. In my opinion, the definition of being smart is just like working hard. And we talk about the three little pigs. You had three pigs that had the same ability. Only one pig make a decision to work hard and get the job done, and he built his home out of bricks. I tell the kids all the time, the big bad wolf is life. And when life comes to try to blow you down, your foundation has to be made out of bricks so that you can withstand it. So once again, I believe, like I said before, kids need to understand what the purpose of education, understand what being smart is, and last but not least, intelligence. And to me, intelligence is just having the ability to understand. If you understand, you have intelligence. So it's not these big 10-syllable words. It's not being able to quote paragraph after paragraph. It's just having an understanding of what you're doing, and you continue to get better. But this is the crux of the matter. In order to get the understanding that you need to be a great student, you have to do certain things in the classroom. And I believe one of the things we don't teach kids is how to pay attention. We'll teach a German Shepherd how to pay attention, but we won't teach young people how to pay attention. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. The best book I ever read was The Alchemist. And the reason I believe that The Alchemist is the best book I ever read, because it says that everything that you need is already in you. All you have to do is find it and go forth, and everything that you want will come from you. When in everybody's story, right, you have a villain and you have a hero. In your story, you are both. I believe teachers are good Samaritans. We try to help you on your journey. I tell you, last but not least, I tell kids all the time, I say, this is the only place in your life where you're going to have adults that are not related to you that care about you being successful. So you should appreciate and love these teachers.
That's awesome. What a word. What a word. That's so good. And thank you. That was a beautiful definition of breaking down smart versus intelligent, and then just giving that foundation. So all of you, wonderful, wonderful words. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
So panel, your specific book right now that we're discussing that was promoted, I just got one question for you in regard to that. What event triggered for you to write that specific book? What triggered just that, the one that you have in hand? Some of you might have more than one. What triggered you to write that book? And your parents, you have a full-time job, you have all these other things going on. Where did you find the time to write that book? But before I hand it over to somebody, thank you for being here, Dr. Edwin Garcia from New Jersey. I saw your comment. It was right now talked about by Shauna, exactly. And Dr. E.T., she's there on the flight coming back home from Hawaii. Chris, what triggered Super Phenom to be written? What event, what situation, and how did you find time, coach, when you're coaching 10,000 things at Andrews High School?
Well, that what triggered it. One of my great friends, who Coach Taylor, we went to UTEP together. I was the OC. He decided to go in a different direction. So, I'm passionate about football. Football goes through my mind 24 hours a day. One of the cool stories my mother says is that when I was 3 years old, she could sit me in front of a football game and I wouldn't move. So football was part of my essence. So I had the time because for the first time in many, many years, I wasn't a football coach. And my company, which is Super Phenom Athleticism Training, is a youth movement about achievement. So like I said before, I look at all these kids that have a false identity of what smart and being intelligent is, and they're not reaching their potential. So that's what motivated me to give my spin on what this book is also for parents, because I'm a firm believer. You have to invest from the cradle until your young person gets to the 8th grade to make sure they have the foundation that they be successful. Sometimes I think parents have a delusion that a teacher is teaching their child. A teacher is teaching about 160 kids a day, and they do a great job of trying to teach 160 kids, but your kid is not getting one-on-one. You can give your kid one-on-one and put the foundation. Just like you taught them how to brush their teeth, just like you taught them how to potty train, you can teach them how to read, you can teach them how to do math, and you can teach them 10 to 15 minutes how to stay still and study, and you also can take these electronics away from them. So okay. I put a onus is
Coach, hold on, Coach, hold on. You're giving away too much right now, brother. That's coming down the road. I know when to stop, Chris. I love that cat. I know what to stop him. So, panel, don't think I'm being rude to him. Hold on, man. Hold on. That question's coming down the road, all right? Just answer this next. Principal Cafele, we see you. I saw that it's your son's birthday. Enjoy dinner with him. Enjoy dinner with him. All right, real quick. Where did you find time, Coach? Now, don't get all crazy on me. Just answer that question right there. Where did you find time?
Me?
Yeah. You saw
I
that one.
I said when I wasn't an OC no more, then
Okay.
I had free time to try to write these books.
Gotcha. All right. I love you, brother. Shauna, what triggered the book and where did you find time?
The book really came from, I mean, we're always looking for different ideas on how to, make a bigger impact. But we take in a lot of student teachers here at the school because we kind of like to mold them into how we want them to be. So, we know we're always going to need more teachers. And so we take in those student teachers and they always have questions. They're always looking for ideas and are asking to go visit other classrooms. And then even the newer teachers that we have here, they'll come and ask for advice or whatever. And it's just, I feel like I have so much that I want to share and get out there. And so that's really where it came from. Like, if I could just put this in one book where it's quick and short little tidbits, but they could like use it and benefit from it, then that would be awesome. And so that's where the book came from. As far as time, I know I mentioned this last time, but my son plays soccer. And so he's at the soccer field 3 nights a week for 3 hours at a time. And so he's not yet driving. And so I'm sitting in the car and that's what I'm doing while he's practicing soccer. And I can watch him and write at the same time. So it's great.
Perfect. And you know what, Shauna? Some people might not have heard that in the other show. So feel free to repeat yourself. Trust me, because I repeat myself a lot. Because I know not everyone sees the same show and the whole span of the show, because these shows are an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. So don't worry about it. You repeat yourself right there, right? Michael, what triggered this book and how did you find time, my man?
All right. So I graduated from GW in 2009 and they automatically ask you, do you want to be an adjunct? And so I said yes. And in looking at the curriculum that I went through, I realized once I got the job at Lee Davis, there's lots of stuff they don't teach you. How to write agendas, how to deal with a crisis, how to go through the HR process with someone who's doing or not doing. And so as those things, matured in the back of my head, I did a little bit of research, and the average tenure for a principal in the United States is 4 years. It's really like 3.5. To get a school improvement plan working, it takes 4. So the person that's in charge when it started leaves, and then you bring in a new person and they change it, and then it started again. It was like a cycle of never-ending fluctuation. And so I started to think in the back of my head, I wonder if I could put some of the things down that we did that were successful. Because when Lee Davis, when I got there, it was a mess, and when I left, it was in great shape. Patriot was U.S. News and World Report 7-8 years in a row. We were the only gold medal school. It wasn't because of me. It was because of the people I hired. It was because of the people I put in the right spots. And in 17 years, I had 34 people get promoted. That's pretty good. I must have known. So I thought, well, maybe I could put that into a book. And if I put that into a book and people start to see this, maybe that will help the profession in one way or another. And so my wife got sick last year. I had started it 3 times before COVID and I didn't finish it. And she got put on hospice care and she said, promise me you'll get it done. I promise. And so I would care for her in my office here. And then I would go up to the computer upstairs and write. And I published on November 28th and she passed on December 24th. So I kept my promise. And from that now, I hope to be able to go work with school divisions who have brand new principals and say, this is what you got to do. And just start off with, this kind of, I've created graphics that talk about how you treat your coaches, how you treat your, employees in the building. I used to tell folks the most important person in the building is the custodial staff and the cafeteria staff, because classrooms aren't clean, kids don't get fed, you get the phone call. And, first day of school, I had 3 rules. Get them here, get them fed, get them home. I don't care about anything else. That's all I want to happen. And they used to make fun of me because I would say at the end of the first faculty meeting, what are the 3 rules? Get them in, get them fed, get them home. And that was all I would celebrate. So I think when we break it down into something that people can use that's small, bite-sized stuff, which is what I tried to do with this, is to give them, Here's how you look at instructional practice. Here's how you look at this. Here's just to give them pieces and take it where it needed to go. I learned, I heard Myron Dueck talk about 4 years ago, and then I reached out to him and asked him if he would explain it to me. He talked about the power standard, and it connected to the instructional practice that we were working on with standards-based education. I said, what's the power standard? He said, it's what you want them to create. So if it's the woodworking class, it's the the little box that you open. If it's a culinary class, it's the meal. If it's a science class, it's the experiment. Talk about a power standard. The kids know what a power standard is. And you say, why are we doing this? Well, we're working on it to create this. And how are you going to do it? And that connected everything for me. And so I wanted to put that in a book. I wanted to capture it. And so far, I think it's decent. It's not really high on the bestseller list, but I get to go to SREB this summer and present in Nashville.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know what, brother? God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful story, man. Blessings to you and your loved ones. Thank you. Appreciate you. Kenyelle, stick.
Yes, thank you. Likewise. Goodness gracious. Hey, I'm in ditto to all of that. Hey, audience, real quick, we're going to take a little pause real here because we are on a roll. Coming from Principal on a Roll, we are on a roll. This is an illustration of a PLC, a professional learning community. So take a minute and like and please share out this broadcast if you have not done so already. Make sure if you're on the YouTube side to subscribe to that YouTube channel, Josh Tovar's YouTube channel. But let's go ahead and get this out there, get those algorithms going. Like and share. This is some good stuff, everybody. And so we are, as Josh has said, we're going to go deeper. We are going to go deeper about the books that we are here promoting. And so, Coach Chris Wells, you were on a roll with this next part that we transition into. And so we're going to turn it back over to you. This next part really does say, describe your book. And then also within your book, what is your favorite part about what you wrote? So we'll start with Coach Chris, and then Shauna, we'll go back to you, and then we'll round that one off with Michael.
When I was coaching football, I used to bring the guys up and I would say truth teller. And I think the truest thing I'm going to say right now, I really believe with all my heart, I believe that every parent should have this book, especially at-risk kids, for the simple fact it gives a blueprint how you can build a real foundation so that your young person can have a chance to function in an educational setting. One of the cool things about the book is only 19 pages long. It's a very, very easy read. An 8-year-old can read it, but in order to put the things that we want to put in place, they need an adult to walk them through it. The favorite part of this book to me is very simple, right? For for thousands of years, the human experience, people passed on diseases and died, right? Because they did not wash their hands, right? To me, that's a very simple task, right? That people died because they were not educated. They was ignorant to the fact of how germs transfer. I believe so many kids get lost in the education system because they don't have the foundation. In my opinion, this book is like washing your hands. It would give your kids an opportunity to be successful. Super phenom.
So good. That's so good. Thank you so much for that. And did we hear you correctly? You said 19 pages?
Yes. I might be, let me see.
Yes.
I got a couple of pieces of me and my wife and my grandchild in here. So, but it's about, 19 pages. 22 altogether to be exact.
That's awesome. And it should honor your family. Honor. So good. Thank you. All right, Shauna.
Okay, so what was the question again? I remember my favorite part.
Yes.
I'm trying to take everything in. There's just such good information. So.
Pen and pad here, pen and pad. So describe your book. So take a moment and just describe your book for the audience and then talk about your favorite part.
Okay, so the title is The XYZs of Teaching, What I Wish I Knew at the Start. So XYZs because it's at the end of the alphabet, but what I wish I knew at the start. And it has everything in here from A to Z. Basically, it talks about differentiation, clothesline math, which is one of my favorite math strategies, all the way to creating experiences for kids and finding joy in your work, journaling, so that you can look back on your impact years later. There's even happy hour in here to remind you to like connect with your colleagues. It doesn't have to be at the bar. I know I'm in Vegas, but it doesn't have to be at the bar, but connect with them and somehow outside of work. And so my favorite part really is the A to Z format, because it's quick and it's easy to reference. It's easy to go back into. There are questions, like reflection questions at the end of each section. So if you want to kind of reflect on your practice, you can. And because I know that I get ideas when I do that, and kind of it makes me step into my work more. So that's there and available for the readers. And basically, I just love that. I feel like it's everything in a book, and it's easy to use, and that's my favorite. And it's my voice, so that's my favorite.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, Mr. Michael.
Okay, I asked Josh to make sure the skinny filter was in place on this, and I do not see it. So that will be one thing I'm going to ask you to add. There's a couple pieces in the book that I felt like if you were going to go and interview, you need to know. I remember I walked into my principal's office. Her name was Dr. Brenda Mayo. I had been an assistant principal for 15 months. And I said, the Lee Davis job is open. It's right by my house. I was driving an hour and a half to get there. I'm going to interview because I want to find out what the questions are. And she turned and she said, you need to be ready for them to offer you the job. And I said, what? No, it's not going to happen. You need to be ready for them to offer you the job. And so I applied, they called, I sat down with her, and she gave me advice that I've given to every single person that's gone to interview that I work with. Don't talk about the job you currently have. Talk about the job you want. Talk about to the teachers, how the teachers will get to work with you and the things you want to see happen. Talk about the fact that you're going to listen and then make adjustments or changes. And so when I went into that Lee Davis interview, I was dressed for the part. I had my best suit on. I felt like I was comfortable, and I talked to them about what a transition plan would look like. Now, I kind of made this up as I was driving to the interview location, but I said, if you want to come and talk to me about the school after I get hired, I'll give you 30 minutes, and you're going to tell me works, doesn't work, and change. And then I'm going to look for commonalities in all of your information. I'm just going to do a qualitative analysis. And from that information, then I pulled in what parts of our school improvement plan would be. I do that now, or I did that now. I would make a list on the side of my desk, started in January, organizational and instructional. And I would make a list from the second half of the year on of all the things I felt like might be a problem. Then I would go meet with the instructional staff, the department chairs, the support staff, and even the custodians and grounds crew. I called it a Clint Eastwood meeting at that time. Good, bad, ugly, right? And so they would give me all the information, and I would take my list, and I'd take my administrators into the conference room, and we would put up what everyone had said for all 5 groups. And I would make them put a marker in their hand. All right, Chris, your job is to go circle good in blue. Carla, your job is to go circle change in red. Denise, your job is to go, and we just went through. Now, what does that compare to my list or your list or your list? And we would look for commonalities. That's not something you get when you become a principal. That's, you get the job, you're all excited. Now what? And I'm going to take a beating for saying this, but the people from above who are telling you what to do may not have been in the job you currently hold. And they just are pushing information down to you that this has to be done. And you're asking, why are we doing that? Couldn't it be done this way? And so I wanted them to understand how you gather information from your folks. And I put that into the book. I mean, this is my coaching perspective, right? If we're going to run on the very first play of the very first game, a particular play in football, we've practiced it 45 times before we get to that day. Why do we put teachers in a summer PD for 30 minutes and say, here's the new PD, and they expect to see it when you walk in to do the evaluation? That's just, and so I was trying to put that into the book. Here's ways you can do it every day. Here's the things you can look for. Walk into a classroom, sit down next to a kid. What are we doing? Why? Just real simple. And then the kid would say, then I knew the teacher had explained what the purpose was, or they'd started with why. So those types of things are not in the master's classes that we all took. Some pieces are, but some pieces are not. And I have a great story I'll tell later that I want to save for you guys, because it's about crisis management, and I know no one has had this story. So I'll keep my mouth shut after that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing as well. So interesting. Yes. I'm
You're good. No, you're good. You're good. I was. You left me with a cliffhanger right there, brother. So yeah. So here we go. All right, Shauna, you're in the middle of your book. Chris, you're in the middle of your book. Michael, you're walking down a pathway and you're thinking of your thoughts and you're recording notes and you're like, just like any other coach. Right now, all these coaches that are about to start playing for the World Cup, they began creating their teams with the vision of them all holding up that gold cup. The NHL, they're in the middle of game 3 right now in the NHL. They want that big cup that everyone takes for one day and do crazy stuff with it. The NBA playoffs, where Cafel is all happy with the New York Knicks. They're in game 3 right now. They want to hoist that award at the end, right? You start with a vision at the end. Shauna, when you're writing your book, what was your vision? Where were these books supposed to be? Where were they supposed to be together? Does that make sense? What was your final vision? I wish my book is held by and they're doing this with it. And that's question number 1. And question number 2, what are your reactions to your book right now? So number 1, what was your vision when you wrote the book? Where did you want it to be held? What did you want for it? And number 2, what has been the reaction to your book?
Okay, number 1, my vision was, and this would be amazing, if colleges and universities would have this book for their teachers, the people that are in their teacher programs, because it's real life, right? I talked about the theories and all that. I get that part of it. We have to know like where everything comes from, but this is real life. And I feel like that's the part that's lacking with the new teachers that we get. They don't have these experiences or these stories that they've read or to know what they're getting into. I know that they know they're getting into something that they're not familiar with, but I don't know that they know exactly like how crazy it can be and how important it is to reach out to those around you and to take care of yourself. And so that's my goals, for it to be in those programs, and also for principals to get them for any new teachers that are coming into their building as well. And then the second part of the question,
what has been the reaction to your book?
Oh, yes. The reaction so far has been great. I have people, obviously Robert's wife, she's like, I don't ever read. She's like, but this one I'm actually reading. She's not done with it yet. But so those are the types of things that people are telling me, like, I don't usually make it through a book, but this one, like, it's easy to read, and I love hearing what you have to say, and I can use this in my classroom and stuff like that. And that's exactly what I wanted. So I'm really happy with it.
Beautiful. And I agree with you. And just like you, Michael, I think a lot like you. Look, guys, they made me pay for Marzano's book, $180 per copy. Oh. I never opened it. Sir Giovanni, never opened it. I know there's purists out there that live and die by them. But let me tell you, Sir Giovanni and Marzano never helped me with a cheerleading mom. Let me tell you, Sir Giovanni and Marzano and some of these certain company books out there will never help me with that softball mom that does not want to pay for the chocolate they took that her kids ate, but they still want to go travel with a team for the tournament. Those situations are real world. And let me tell you, on your state assessment to become a principal, they will never ask you about the cheerleading mom whose daughter's a base, but she wants her to be a flyer. That is a fact, Jack. But you know what? We got to know theory, right? Right, Shauna? We got to know theory, damn it. Yeah. And pay $200 per book. Chris, where did you envision that book to be held? And I think you kind of answered that question already. And what has been the feedback to your 22-page book, sir?
My vision for the book is that every elementary kid parent have this book at their disposal. And every at-risk kid that fits the definition of at-risk get this book distributed through the school district. That's my ultimate vision. That's my ultimate goal, right? Because once again, I believe that it will severely help their chances to be successful. The first reaction is, you wrote the book? That's the first reaction. But when the people that have read the book, right, they say it all makes sense. They say it all makes sense. It's a very easy read. They like some of my anecdotal stories that I try to bring the reader in of what allowed me to understand that my brain is a lottery ticket. And that's one thing I talk about in the book, that your brain is a lottery ticket. And if you refuse to cash it in, then you can't get no money. So you have to cash your brain in every day that you go to school. And that's some of the concepts I use in the book. But the people, the kids that have read it, the grown-ups that have read it, they said it's very easy to understand and it's very doable. Like I said before, an 8-year-old can understand it, but the parents have to put parameters to make sure that they get the work that's done to build the foundation in education.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Michael, talk to us.
Okay, in a perfect world, my hope is that this book is handed to every brand new principal in every school division across the country, because I think sometimes we don't prepare them for what they're going to see. We don't prepare them to deal with angry parents. We don't prepare them to deal with crises off campus. We don't prepare them to deal with bus accidents or teachers who showed up drunk or teachers who got in fist fights with other teachers. I mean, there's no class that has any of that in it. I don't remember any, foundations or theory or anything. It's not there. And so
I think you didn't read chapter 5 of Marzano, sir. It says teacher fist fights. You failed to crack that $200 book open, sir.
So some of the stuff that I put in here, it's instructional related and how we implemented things, but it was a lot about culture, and it was a lot about building that culture. And I read something interesting about Chick-fil-A and the Ritz-Carlton, because they're two of the most highly respected companies in the world. And the guy who owned Chick-fil-A, Stuart Cathy, went to the Ritz-Carlton and said, tell me how everybody thinks this is the greatest. Tell me why this is the greatest place to go to. And he said, well, we have a real simple philosophy. It's called LAST. Listen, apologize for how they feel. Don't apologize for the incident. Provide a possible solution, and then a timeline or a follow-up. So I used it one time with a parent. She came in screaming and yelling, and I could hear her in my office out to the front. And I walked out there and I said, I need you to calm down for a minute. Can I ask you a question? Sure. But I said, would you show up at your doctor's office, or would you show up at your dentist's office and start screaming and demanding to be seen? No. Why are you screaming at my ladies out here in the front? That's just not appropriate. Oh, but I'm so upset. Okay, I know you're upset. How about if you come back with me and we'll sit down and find out what it was? And I took her back to my office, set her down. I looked at the girls. I said, we're okay. And I walked her through it. And I said, I'm sorry that happened to you. I can't provide you with a solution today because I have to find out if and this actually did happen. But Mr. Van Gelder will follow up with you in the morning and we'll have some kind of a solution. She walked out, nice. Said she sorry to the parents. That's not in a Marzano book. That's not in any class that we took. And that was what motivated me to write the book, is that those are the little tricks. Because as an AP, I had one that just want to say, well, it's in the policy. It's in the policy. They can't do it. It's in the policy. He said, Kendra, that's not how you handle it. Say, the policy limits my responses and what I can do. However, I am willing to look to see if there's a way to work this out. You don't just stand there and hang your sword or die on the policy, because she's going to end up at the school board office hollering and yelling about you. And they're going to call you and tell you to do what you had to do anyway. So that was my motivation for putting it together. And I realized we didn't get that stuff. How many of us had crisis management training in college? I didn't. I didn't have any of that. And I hired a guy who had done it. So thankfully, I had an expert in the building, and I just deferred to him. Crisis drills, lockdown drills, evacuate the building drills. I had never done any of that stuff. Even as a teacher, we had never done that. So those are the things that, if you find the right people and put them in the right spots, you can be successful. And that's what writing this book I wanted to share with others. And, you know, my hope is I get a consultant job with the school division that has brand new principals, and first quarter we talk about this, second, third, fourth, and we get them all to, you know, work through some real life situations.
What feedback have you gotten from the book?
Feedback from the book so far has been good. I submitted 3 proposals for SREB thinking I would get 1, and they picked all 3. And so the lady called me on the phone and she said, "Are you okay to do 3?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay to do 3." I went to Baltimore. I forget the name of the conference, and I got good feedback from the folks up there. It's still just kind of on Amazon, and that's the only place it's being published. So I have a marketing company now that's helped me create a website and is going to put a social media campaign together that starts next week and pushing it out. It's called theprincipalplaybook.com, and it'll have material on there and how you can book me and stuff like that. And it was worth it to get them to do it. I have no experience with that.
Michael, show the people the cover of your book.
All right. It's called What They Don't Teach in Principal School, and it's available on Amazon. I think it's about $14 for the paperback copy, or it's $2 or $3 for the Kindle version.
Chris, show your book.
Super Phenom Process of Learning.
Push it back. Push it back. It's too close. Push it back.
Process of Learning, and it's also on Amazon.
Shauna, show your book again. Love it. Awesome. And this is a time where we promote books. I like promoting the books that I have read and are great. And past guest Superintendent Glenn Robbins wrote 2 beautiful books. And they're the type of books that us educators love to read right there. The Stoics and Administration. You can't go wrong when you're dealing with cheerleading mom. Right there. It tells you how to stay nice and cool and peaceful whenever you're dealing with that. What? My son can't go to end of the year activities? He only has 15 referrals. How dare you not allow him to do that? Another book by Superintendent Glenn Robbins. Famous musicians that were told they were losers. You know that guy, Tom Petty? Yeah, he sucks. He's no good. Well, you know what? He ties it into education. How a lot of us get blackballed and can't move ahead. And we're told you're not the right fit here.
I tied Bruce Springsteen into my book.
Well, there you go. Perfect. Sean Kane, right there. I am a Fundamental 5. That is the blueprint at our campus. And and Chris knows about that. I am Fundamental 5, 1,000%. And that's how you see growth. And this is how you train new team members on the Fundamental 5. There's this book that this young lady from Nevada sent me, and I'm halfway through the book right now. I should be done by tomorrow, God willingly. Great book. I've been reading it nonstop, as she said. Great read. And you know what? It lets me do some flashbacks. And yours truly, 2 books, helped write in 2 books. There's this guy that Shauna knows that writes books. Hold on, this one right here. Right there, 15 principles from across the United States. Yours truly is in one of the chapters. And 23 stories from Barbara Bray. Grow Your Why. Yours truly, the last chapter that deals with this little school in El Paso known as Socorro High School and how it got turned around thanks to help by people like Chris Wells. And that's what we have going on right now. Kenyel,
Love it, love it. Love the book promotions. One thing that excites me about each of you as authors is the practicality and the reflection that each of you have written with. So that's very exciting and encouraging. It makes me excited for my cart. So as we just continue to talk a little bit more about you all as being authors, I have 2 questions for you. It's really like a 1, a 1A, and then a 2. And so we'll start back with Shauna. Do you aspire to write another book? Do you want to write another book? And if so, what would the topic be? So there's 1 and 1A. And then 2, what advice do you have for any educator who wants to author a book?
Okay, great questions. Yeah, so I've already started. I told you math was my passion. So this XYZs of teaching is kind of just global and every aspect that has to do with teaching. But the next one's going to be the XYZs of math. So teachers that are looking to get help or advice in the area of math, I'm going to have all different kinds of strategies and relationship-based things and things that they can do in the classroom to help them be better math teachers. And then I keep forgetting the last question. I don't know why.
About your focus locked in.
Yeah.
What advice would you give an educator who wants to become an author?
To just get started. Like, don't be scared. It can be overwhelming and it can be scary, but just get it on paper. And once you get it on paper, then you can go back and you can revise. You can keep working on it as long as you want. I mean, it's your book. So just get it out. Like, we all have so much to share. And so that's my advice. Just get it out and just make it better as you go.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm already excited. The XYZs of math. So good stuff. Coach Chris Wells, what about you, sir?
Like I said before, my passion is football, so I'm gonna write a book about the tight doubles offense, the out-of-time offense. I think it's gonna revolutionize how people play offensive football. And my only advice to anybody that wants to be an author, like, just do it. Just take a step forward, put pen to paper, and just trust yourself. Because I tell kids all the time, it's billions of people here, and if you can affect 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, you have did more than your part.
Yeah. Good stuff. Just do it. All right. Looking forward to it. All right. Michael.
I think I'm torn between two, because I actually have two pieces started of two separate paths. One is stories that I've encountered while in education that were really motivational and things that happen. And then the other is to do with instruction, because, my number one pet peeve was when I would walk in a classroom and see a packet. I can't stand packets. I don't think they do anything other than have the kid fill in information, and they don't really learn. And, if you have a really clear focus on assessment as the basis, you work from backwards and you create a unit plan that the kids understand. And we called it an UPS flow, a unit plan, student-friendly language or objectives. What are we going to do? How is it going to be measured? What will the assessments be? And then the standards would be over here on the right. We were really successful with that. I'd like to take that concept and write a book about it. And I know Dweck has done it. I know Garth Larson has done it, a couple of other folks. And at the high school level, it's really, really intriguing when the kids get it, right? Because one year we had a conversation about, did you understand the 7 parts of Webb's depth of knowledge, or what's the other one, the hierarchy, the 7 words: analyze, critique, describe, summarize, identify, interpret, synthesize. So we made a chart, and the teachers defined what those words, activities meant. And then I had them put up in every classroom. So if in Mr. Kearns' classroom, he's asking us to analyze a written piece of work, and in Miss Johnson's class, she's asking us to analyze, it means the same thing. Oh, I know what analyze is, so that they're not going, what's number 1 from the screen? What am I copying down from her slide? They don't get anything out of that. And so I think I have two. I want to focus on improving instructional practices. You don't have to make a whole lot of changes, and we don't need some acronym filled, which is what my district is doing now, high quality instructional materials. Every kid has to have HQIM. Teachers know what they're doing. But I've had some great stories and interactions with kids. And one of my favorite is when I was at Hanover High School, I had a kid named Eric. And Eric sat in the back of the room. He was African-American, and he would skip. And I would go find him. And he would skip. And I would go find him. He finally stopped skipping and said, "Why are you coming to find me?" I said, "Because you can do the work. I can't do it. You can do the work." So I'd bring him in study hall. I would bring him in after school. It was U.S. history, which is the hardest one at that time. And my room was like a triangle, and he sat over here to the right, and my desk was in the middle. And so he continued and continued. And the first time I gave him back a test that had a passing grade on it, I saw a big smile on his face. He came over and gave me a little hug. I did it, coach. I said, "You're right. You can keep doing it." And so all throughout the year, I saw improvement. Comes time for the SOL. He takes it. A few days later, the counselor comes down and she closes my door. She said, "Hey, Mike, I wanted to talk to you about something. I thought I was in trouble." She said, "Eric Norris passed his SOL." I said, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad for him." She goes, "No, Mike, you don't understand. He's never passed an SOL in his whole career in education." I said, "Oh, come on. He's never passed one. Like, what did you do?" And at first I thought she was thinking I did something I shouldn't have. And I said, "I just made him do the work. He came to my classroom after school. He came to my classroom when he skipped. He came to my classroom and I sat with him and I said, this is what has to get done." And as he realized he could do the work, I paired him with people who would help him. And we had practice tests and we did, and he passed. And I said, "Can I give him his test when we hand him back?" Because they would usually come in and hand them back. And so they came in a couple of days later. She handed me his test and I waited till he was the last one. And he was like, and I said, "Eric, here's your test." And I walked over and I put it in front of him and he opened it up and he had the biggest smile on his face I have ever seen. And he jumped up and he hugged me like we had just won the Indianapolis 500. And I put my hand on his head. I said, "I told you you could do it. I told you you could do it." That's one of my favorite stories from being in education, because that kid, for whatever reason, all throughout his school career, maybe somebody didn't think he could do it and just didn't spend any time with him. I don't know what he does now, but that's one of my favorite stories. And I want to write another book like that. I want to write a book with other people's stories of success and contributing and how we put them together.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. It's very evident that each of you is a champion for scholars, for teachers, new teachers, and for parents in our communities. So excellent work. Such rich information.
All right. And the last question before we get into the Échale Ganas questions, a big shout out to Dr. Joe Griffin, who is here on the call. Check out his Facebook Live. What is it, Kenyel? 3 p.m. Central, Saturday?
On Saturdays.
Right.
Yes.
3 p.m. Central?
Yes. 3 Central.
And Tashmanar, thank you for being here. I saw your quotes there on packets on YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Make sure that you follow us and click on the bell right there. Very quick last question before we get into the lightning round. Chris Wells, finish the sentence. Hey, educator, this summer I want you to
rejuvenate. Life is life, and we don't have endless summers. So if you have 23 summers, you have 53 summers, you have 67 summers behind you, you need to make the most of that summer right then and there, because we all know tomorrow is not promised. Fall back in love with your wife, spend as much time with your kids as you can, because once they're gone, they're gone.
All right, Shauna. Hey, educator, this summer I want you to
do what Chris just said. That was great. But find the joy and the positives in everything.
All right, Sue, too. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for giving us your name. Appreciate it. Make sure you like and follow on YouTube. And Michael, hey, educator, this summer I want you to.
Okay, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put away your books and all your stuff for 2 weeks. Don't go pick up anything. Spend some time with your family. Go to the beach. Go get a meal. Go see a movie. We still have a drive-in in Virginia. Drive out there and do something like that. And then in July, I want you to think about what's one change you want to make in your classroom. What's one thing you want to do better? It can be anything. When we come back in the fall, that's what our conversation is going to start with in the first week of August, is making that one change and then go from there. And I gave them all the book 212 Degrees to read over the summer. It's a cheap purchase. And it really solidified my message of we're not going to do everything. We're going to do one thing really, really, really well.
Perfect. I love it. I love it right there. And it's up to the lightning round, the PGP podcast. G's for Ganas. Chris knows that he's surrounded by Hispanics every single last day. Ganas is the only thing that is a monolith. You know what people say, Hispanics? No, we're not a monolith. Our beans are different. Our gorditas and pupusas are different. Our caldo de res is different. The way we talk is different. The speed in which we talk is different. We're not a monolith, but you know what? One word does connect us. One word. cubanos, puertorriqueños, mexicanos, guatemaltecos, bolivianos, argentinos, we all use the same word, ganas. And that's how I want you to answer the next 9 questions with ganas. All right, guys, I said it before the show. This is not War and Peace. This is not 10 hours per. It's a lightning round, all right? Except for number 2, it's a lightning round. So we're going to go through this real quick. And as we always say, ladies first, we're going to start off with Shauna. And here we go. Give advice to a substitute teacher.
Be assertive, but enjoy what you're doing because the kids can tell.
Read a note, an email, a text from a parent, a colleague, or student that inspired you with their words.
This is from my elementary principal. Your philosophy was like mine. It wasn't a job, but rather a passion, a life goal to help make a difference in children's lives.
Yes, so I love it. Send some flowers to an active colleague who inspires you in your work. Name and title.
Last time it was Robert. This time it's you and everybody here, just because anybody who's making a bigger impact in education deserves the flowers.
Thank you. What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
The sequoias at my aunt's cabin.
On a hungry day, what is your go-to? Pizza, Chinese, or Mexican?
Mexican.
What is your Mount Rushmore of action heroes?
Superman, Batman, Captain America, and Hulk.
Got it. When you were young, what was that best family vacation you took with mom and dad?
I lived in California, and we would drive every summer to San Antonio to visit my grandparents and aunts and uncles. So that one.
When you have to recalibrate, when it's time to focus on you, what do you do?
Get out in nature.
How can people get a hold of you, the author of the XYZ?
I am Shauna Q777 on all of the platforms.
Love it. She's easy to find right there. Chris Wells, are we ready?
Yes.
Lightning round, brother.
Yes.
Not a dissertation. Here we go. Give advice to a substitute teacher.
Keep control.
Read a note, an email, a text from a parent, a colleague, a student that inspired you with their words.
One of our former Socorro Bulldogs, Matthew Carrillo, reached out to me about a year ago, thanking me for being one of the people that believed in him.
Send some flowers to an active colleague that inspires you with their work. Name and title.
I would think Coach Davis. He's a football coach. He's a minister. I think he teaches all AP history class at Andrews High School. He's a really good man.
Yeah, he's been on the show before. I love him. What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
Cancun.
On a hungry day, what's your go-to? Pizza, Chinese, or Mexican?
Chinese.
What is your Mount Rushmore of action heroes?
Blue Falcon, Birdman, Superman, and Man.
Oh, man. All right. When you were young, what was the best family vacation you took with your mom and your dad?
Well, we didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't take no vacations with mom and dad. Now I went with my aunts to California, but we didn't go on vacations as children.
Whenever you do have to calibrate, sir, and focus on Chris Wells, what do you do?
You know what? I'm happy being Chris Wells. I sit down and relax and think about myself, like not in a selfish way, but I'm one of those people that really, really is truly blessed. I know that I live better than 97% of the world, and that's not an egotistical thing. That's just how fortunate I am.
And how can people get a hold of the super phenom with all those action videos on Facebook, sir?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Chris Wells, or you can go to Instagram or Twitter, superphenom06, or you can go to my website, www.superphenom.co, and I also do motivational speaking. I would do a bang-up job. Superphenom every day of my life.
There you go, Michael Bishop. We're going to finish this lightning round with you, senor. And remember, panel, do not get off the call once we're finished right now. Give advice to a substitute teacher.
You thank them for being there. You provide them with a book that says, here's all the expectations. Who are you going to call if this happens, this happens, this happens? If you have any questions, I'm right at the end of the hallway. Greet them, take attendance. You'll be fine.
Read a note, an email, text from a parent, a colleague, or student that inspired you with their words.
I had a kid come up to me that I'd kicked out of school about 4 or 5 years earlier, saw him at a Sheets, and he'd been involved in a serious incident. He came over and thanked me. And I said, I kicked you out of school. He said, no, you don't understand. By going to that school, I got my electrician's trade. I now work as an electrician, and I can take care of my family. And I got the hug where he lifted me off the ground kind. It was a great experience.
Send some flowers to an active colleague who inspired you with a word. Name and title.
Maria McDonald, principal at Pace West High School and alternative school in Prince William County.
What summer vacation spot stands out and you want to visit again?
Yellowstone.
On a hungry day, what is your go-to? Pizza, Chinese, or Mexican?
Pizza.
What is your Mount Rushmore of action heroes?
Iron Man. He's sarcastic, smart, and charming all at the same time.
Give me 3 more.
3 more superheroes?
Yes.
All right. Batman, but only the Michael Keaton Batman, right? And the Hulk.
All right. When you were young, what was the best family vacation you took with your mom and your dad?
We were too poor to take vacations. The first real vacation I took was with my wife's family to the Outer Banks when we got married.
When it's time to recalibrate, sir, what do you do?
For me?
Yes, sir.
My neighbors know that I'm upset or I'm stressed if I'm cutting the grass or washing my cars. And Christina lives next door. She goes, "What happened today?" I said, "Nothing. You washed the car yesterday." I said, "Yeah, okay, you're right."
And how can people get a hold of this new book or yourself to pick your brain, sir?
All right. Theprincipalplaybook.com is the website. What they don't teach in principal school is on Amazon. My email is theplaybookprincipal@gmail.com, and Playbook Principal YouTube page and Instagram page and LinkedIn page were created this week, and I no longer have control over them because the marketing company is taking it.
Beautiful, Pat. No, thank you for being here tonight, part of this awesome show, episode 109, Kenyell Sessions. Thank you for jumping in, being co-hosting of episode 109. Thank you, everybody. And remember, we have all of these educators right here. We have 6 shows. We have 6 and 3, 18 books that are out there for you to purchase this summer so you could recalibrate, get new ideas, and become a better version of yourself. Because you know what? Every time you become a better version of yourself, your scholars will become a better version of yourselves. And if they improve, your community improves, our beautiful country improves. And it's all a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect. You don't have any more money. I don't have any more money. Texas is broke. Maine is broke. New Jersey is broke. Oklahoma is broke. Everyone's broke in education. But this is free PD for you. You could go to Education Week, Edutopia. You got tons of avenues for your PD. So make this part of that algorithm that you use, because we know you're all using that. And ultimately, you're not alone. You are not alone. You've got people here from the East Coast, from Texas, and from Nevada, inspiring you with their words, with their actions, because they know that we're all going through the same things in education right now. We're all facing the same thing. The kids moving here, moving there, school closures, a lack of teachers in the system. But you know what? We're all together. The cell phone bonds us. That's how we're connected with the majority of our panels, the majority of our guests. And you know what? They have brought light. They are shining a beacon of light to our beautiful profession, the profession that creates all the other professions, education. And we need you to continue following us and sharing, but most importantly, be part of the conversation each and every single last week with the Fantastic Four Network. We love you. We care about you. And next week, be part of a community. I'm going to have representatives from AMLE, American Middle School Level, TASSP, TASB, and TEPSA right here and Beam Conference so that you could become part of an association to better fine-tune your craft. Panel, say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much, and do not hang up.